everybody. Welcome. If you're watching this, I'm honestly pretty surprised because about 5 minutes ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to record a podcast. I haven't done an individual episode in a while, and I want to talk a little bit about what I've been doing, my journey, a little bit about myself, and answer some questions I've been getting. And so I was like, you know what? Why not just go live? Because I feel like a lot of times I prepare a lot, have things ready, make sure it's pretty scripted. And I just thought this time I would just jump right in, talk about what I'm doing, talk about what I'm seeing in the space. So if anybody happened to find themselves on my live, I appreciate you hopping in, jumping on. If you have any questions, let me know. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Earlier today, I actually did a podcast for my venture fund, Redbeard Ventures, where I'm a partner over there. And we just discussed the market as a whole, what we're seeing in the space, investments that we're making. And so, you know what? I was ready to go. And I just decided that I'd take it to a different step, explain my story about venture capital, what I'm seeing in the space, what I'm excited about, and then jump right in. So as I mentioned, my name's Elana Dickman. I'm the founder of The Girls Table, which is a media platform. I host different events around LA. So if you're a founder or if you're an investor, let me know. I'm hosting a pickleball one in less than 2 weeks. And I try to host them at least monthly or at least every other month. And then also I have a weekly newsletter where I send out deal flow from my syndicate, my Redbeard Ventures syndicate. We use AngelList. We send out deal flow, probably at least a new deal every week, if not every other week. And we have a broad range of sectors. It started basically focused in Web3 crypto, and since then has expanded to all frontier tech. So space, robotics, biotech, you name it. We've kind of done something in that sector. And then I send that deal flow out through AngelList platform and then also through my newsletter. So, you know what? I know some people might have been following me from the start. They know my story. They've watched some of my other episodes before, but I'll just dive into a little bit about me and myself, how I got started. Then I really want this to be as informative as possible for everybody listening. So I started out post-college, and during college, I interned at a ton of different financial institutions. I worked at Bloomberg. I quickly switched to internal consulting at Deloitte, and then took a full-time role at KPMG, where I was there for a couple of years doing strategy and operations. I then moved over to Deloitte, where I worked at Deloitte Consulting, once again, more in that similar strategy and financial ops. And then I moved to a startup out in LA. And on the side, I just started angel investing. So the easiest way to do that, I mentioned this before, is just following different syndicates. Right now, unfortunately, you have to be an accredited investor. So you need at least, correct me if I'm wrong, but $1 million in net assets, 250K in the last 2 years. And then you also or need to pass Series 67, or there's another exam that you could pass. But if you go on the AngelList platform and you check which one makes you an accredited investor, then pretty much you're in. And what this means is now I could use the AngelList platform to actually see different deal flow. And I'd honestly love to go ahead and share my screen. I, once again, did not plan this, so I need to make sure that what you're about to see isn't anything confidential, and you could really just see what it looks like, what you could see. And so let me go ahead, because I think it's important for people who don't know what it looks like. Like, what are you even looking at? How does it work? Unfortunately, I can't show you any of the ones that we're actively investing, but I'll basically, once you're on the platform, show you what you could see. So let me know when you could see my screen, which you can't because there's only a few you watching right now. But basically what this is the AngelList platform. And here you could see all the different syndicates. I'm just going to uncheck some things. So the first thing you could see is the status. Are they new? Do they have active deal flow? Have you joined already? Are they raising a venture capital fund? Then you could see their type of deal flow. So is it high, medium, or low type of deal flow? What stage they invest in, seed, early stage growth, or secondaries, and then what revenue stage. Maybe sometimes you only want to invest in companies that are pre-launch or pre-revenue, or maybe you want to do more post revenue, or obviously, especially in this market, a lot of times people and investors just want to see companies that are profitable. You could do any type of geography and then also any type of market. So maybe you're interested in Web3 crypto. There's one for dating or consumer apps, but whatever it is, you could kind of go on here and select. So think, okay, I want to see a high amount of deal flow. I'm just starting out in syndicates. I want to see different ones. So right now, this array reduces it to 30 different syndicates that actually do this. And maybe you want not to do secondaries. You want to do more seed, early stage. And we're still at 30 because most of the big or syndicates that do a lot of deal flow kind of do a broad range of sectors. So at Redbeard Ventures, about 50% are Web3 crypto, but the other 50% is more frontier tech. So space, robotics, biotech. We do seed, early stage growth. We do secondaries. Recently, we just did Anduril. We did Canva. So honestly, ours is on this list. So once you see one, which is Redbeard Ventures, you could click on it. And then you could see information about us. So you could see our team, what we actually do. Usually I'm up on there, so gotta fix that. Then you could see the deal flow that we're currently having, which I'm just gonna X out of because I think only you could see a part of that. But basically, this is how you do it. And then once you want, let me just select one that I'm not a part of. So maybe 10x value. You could apply to the syndicate. How did you discover the syndicate? Oh, I actually know the founders of the syndicate. So I know or communicate with them. And then you can write a brief message about yourself if you want. This will probably help you apply and get approved. So, hey, I've been angel investing a lot. I want to invest in a broader range of companies, and I would love to see your deal flow. Then you could scroll down. You could see a little bit more about them, their thesis, whatever they want to include. Anybody kind of writes a broad range of things, who the team is, their past deal flow. So they've done 7 deals in the past 12 months. They do seed in early stage, and then they also do a lot of follow-ons. So honestly, if you are a credit investor, the first thing I say is go on the AngelList platform, apply to join AngelList. And then once you're actually in, look at their syndicates, look at ones that really go in line with what you do. Maybe you want to do more biotech because that's something that you really like. You want to do US, which is already selected, and then you could see the different deal flow. So that is one way to start angel investing. And the best part about this is once you're actually on the platform, almost all deals, unless they're secondary or they're really high demanded, the minimum amount to invest is 1K. The only reason they'd have a bigger minimum to invest is because you're only allowed 99 LPs in a syndicate. And so if they need to make sure that they don't have more than that, then usually they'll require the minimum to maybe be 5K or 10K. But right now, and especially in this market that we're at, where a lot of LPs and individuals don't have as much liquidity as they do in a bull market, then the minimum amount to invest is 1K. So now I'm going to discuss a little bit between what is a syndicate, what is a fund, what's the differences. And so a little bit about this syndicate. As I mentioned, you're going to apply to a syndicate, then weekly, biweekly, some are monthly, you'll get an email of the deal flow. You'll see what the company is, what they actually do, what round is it, what valuation is it, what other investors are in there. And then as being a syndicate lead, you'll invite, why are you excited about this deal? What's a competitive landscape? What is their traction to date? Why should the LP invest? So you have all the information that you possibly need. And then you could decide if you want to invest or not. And it's on a deal by deal basis. So me as a fund manager, I'm not actually investing the money for you, but rather I'm giving you different deal flow. And then you decide as an investor if you want to invest. And usually the way syndicate works is we take 20% carry. Sometimes if it's later stage deal, if it's secondary, or basically if it's secondary, then we will take a management fee on that amount. And the reason we do this is secondary usually requires some legal involved. And so in order to pay those legal fees, we'll charge a little bit of management fees on top of that. But it's usually not a lot, not as much as a fund would take, maybe 2% for 2 years or something like that, just to cover the basis of the beginning legal fees that we usually have to pay. But now, on the flip side, what is a fund? So a fund is we manage the money for you. So we're like, hey, the minimum amount to put in Redbeard Ventures Fund is $250,000. And then, so high net worth individuals, corporations invest in funds, there are fund of funds, there's family offices, and they'll be like, okay, awesome. What is your thesis? So at Redbeard Ventures Fund One, we do crypto, we do Web3, and that's like the majority. We invest in gaming, DeFi, infrastructure, we do token and equity, and we're just a broad range, usually pre-seed and seed. And so if you're an angel investor, high net worth individual, family office, you'll hear about the thesis of the fund and then you'll decide if you want to invest. And so this is really exciting because then, like, you as an investor, maybe you don't know the exact companies to pick, but you like a certain thesis, then you could actually go ahead and invest in that specific fund, and then they deploy the capital for you, which is different from a syndicate, whereas you just invest with the minimum amount of 1K and you pick on a deal by deal basis. The fund, the difference between the fees charged in a fund is that usually they'll actually charge 20% carry. And the way carry works is, let's just say it's a $30 million fund, and then it becomes the worth value of all their investments is now 100 mil. That's a $70 million gain from the 30 mil to the 100 mil. And then the actual fund will take carry on that. So they'll take 20% of the gain of the 70 mil. So $14 million. And then that will be split up between fund partners, analysts, whoever they give kind of carry to. Sometimes they even give deal sourcers as well. And then they'll also charge management fees, which is 2 on 20. So 2% over 10 years, which equals 20%. So that's a little bit of the difference between a fund and a syndicate. Now, something else I want to really touch on that a lot of people ask me is, how do you source deal flow? So that's honestly one of the best ways and easiest ways that I've seen individuals be able to get into venture capital. And a lot of venture funds have scouting programs. And what this is basically you get connected to GP, a partner, whoever it is as a fund. They're like, okay, if you start sourcing different deals, we'll give you carry. And that's actually how I heard about venture. So I was at NFT New York City. I was angel investing in different startups. I met Drew Austin, the founding partner of Redbeard Ventures, and he really said that to me. He's like, okay, bring in deal flow in crypto and Web3 companies that you find exciting, that you think we'd be interested in. And if we decide to invest, we'll give you a portion of our carry. So of that 20% that the fund takes. It's like, awesome. I'm already really big in crypto and Web3. I'm loving the space. I'm angel investing on the side. And now I'll just reach out to founders of companies I find really exciting and see if anybody's raising and ask them for different deal flow. So I did this back in 2021, and I just started reaching out to different companies in the space. So I got deal flow in Unstoppable Domains and Layer Zero and Azura, which is a decentralized betting protocol, and a couple others. And basically how I did this was I was already really intertwined in the space. So I was reading about the space. I lived on Twitter. I was finding out through different people, like companies that were exciting. And I had my own thesis about the space and where I saw it headed. And so once I found companies that were really exciting to me, the first thing I do was I try to reach out on Twitter. I have a following on Twitter, and I do think that that helps because I have like 20 plus thousand followers. So if a founder sees me reach out, then usually more likely than not, they'll answer. But of course, probably half the time they still don't answer my first message. And so once I find a company, I basically like, hi, I'm Elana. Right now, I'm a partner of Redbeard Ventures, but at the time I was a scout. So I'm a scout for Redbeard Ventures. I talk a little bit about Redbeard. We're a pre-seed, seed, Web3 crypto fund. Super excited about what you're building. I talk a little bit about the company itself. So like for Unstoppable Domains, I was like, I'm really interested in digital identity and how that works and how that all is evolved into crypto and Web3. I usually did some research on if they just raised a round of funding or if it looks like they might be raising a round of funding right now. So it's either like, hey, I saw you just raised a round of funding, not sure if you have any more allocation left, or vice versa. Hey, you haven't raised a round of funding right now, so not sure where you're at with raising funding. But regardless, I would love to get on a call and chat, hear more about what you're building, hear more about the roadmap, and like potentially invest in you guys. I don't know if I said that yet, but would just love to hear more. Let me know if you're open to chatting. Sometimes I send a Calendly, sometimes I just wait for them to answer. So that's one way to reach out. On Twitter, sometimes the first step I do is reach out to the company itself. A lot of times that really doesn't work. It's usually, if it's a later stage deal, it's a social media manager who's actually doing that account. And sometimes they introduce me. But if anything, then I'd go on LinkedIn. I had LinkedIn Sales Snap. So I'd look at the company, I'd find the founders, maybe even the CTO, COO. The best people are probably the CEO and CFO, and just be like, pretty much say that message. I'd find them on Twitter. I'd reach out there. If they didn't answer there, I'd go on LinkedIn. I'd message basically any of the top executives, hoping that one of them would answer to me. Another little tidbit is I'd make sure not to just copy and paste the same message. If it's a startup, it's a small team, they're probably all talking about it. Make sure to make it so that it's a little bit more informal and more that has to do with the individual that you're reaching out to. Just in my own personal experience, you're more likely to get a response. And that's the end goal at the end of the day, to get a response in companies that you're excited about. Hop on a call. Hopefully, they're raising a round of funding. If not, you're starting that conversation early. And I think that that's one of the best things that you could do. So start the conversation early, get on that call, talk to them about the company, the venture fund that you're scouting from. And then if they have allocation, my next step was then introduce them to the partner or another individual at the time at Redbeard Ventures, and if they were excited about the deal. So taking a step back. So reach out to the company, get in touch with the founders, tell them that you're scouting or you're working with a venture capital fund. They say yes to hopping on a call, hear more about them. Then I go ahead and write like a small memo, like what's their traction? Who else is investing in the round if they're raising a round of funding? Why are you excited about them? What's their revenue to date? What's the round? What's the round size? How much are they raising, which, like, any information, any competitive analysis, anything that if you read this in the 2 minutes that the venture fund might spend reading it, that they would know if they're potentially interested or not. I'd say one advice I have is don't put too much information. Venture funds get deal flow from everywhere. They have different venture scouts. They have LPs in their fund that are sending them deal flow. They have people outreaching. They have people they're reaching out to. So try to make it just as easy as possible to read and to understand. So after that, I started sourcing different deal flow, similar as I just said. And Red Bear was super interested. They started investing in a couple of the deals that I brought in. They really liked the deal flow that I specifically was bringing. And so they brought me on full time. And from there, I helped raise our fund, a $25 million pre-seed seed Web3 crypto fund. And also now I run our syndicate. The best part about having both a syndicate, sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water. The best part about having both a syndicate and a fund is the syndicate could do any stage, any sector. Then also, a lot of funds only have so much money to do follow-ons, but the best way to use the syndicate to that advantage is, let's just say we invest in the seed stage of a company and then they go out and raise their Series A. It's a little bit too high valuation for us. Well, then we could just run a sidecar, run the syndicate, and ask LPs if they're interested in investing, but it's a little too high of a valuation for the fund given our current mandates and given what we believe in. But if you're interested in getting into venture, I would say find your niche. For me, it was Web3 crypto. Find something that really excites you and start putting out content about it. So I use Twitter specifically in my advantage. I also started my podcast, started my newsletter where I could talk about things that excites me. And I think a lot of times people are just like, yeah, I want to get into venture. It's like, okay, well, take the first step. So start writing your thesis. Maybe just, you don't have to invest. If you're not an accredited investor or you don't have the funds to start putting it into different startups, I'd say at least start writing about it. I would honestly either start on Twitter, start a newsletter, start whatever kind of is your way of communicating with people, and write about the startup then. If you're not going to invest, be like, hey guys, following this company, heard they just raised a round of funding. Here's why I would have invested. Or just start writing your thesis, being like, hey, I believe in AI, not the same view that everybody else is giving, but here's my view on the space, and here's why I'm excited about it. And here are companies that are building in this space. Honestly, venture capital is probably one of the best jobs you could do. You get to invest in the future technology of our world, whether that's in AI, whether that's in biotech, whether that's in crypto. And that's why I personally love it. And I love investing in founders who are really building and that I truly believe in. But I think a lot of people say they want to get in venture, but they never take the first step into actually finding what they believe in and finding their thesis. And so even though I was in Web3 crypto, I needed to find what really excited me. And for me personally, I think gaming is a huge onboarding ramp into crypto and Web3. And it's one of the biggest use cases for NFTs. And that's why I'm excited about it. And I just think everybody needs to have their own thesis. And also in venture, like everybody brings their own value. I am such a go getter. I love sourcing deals. I love finding companies before anybody else does, before any tier one investors get in. And then I honestly think syndicates are really fun. One, because if you find a good deal that people actually enjoy, it will fill up so quickly. We just did Android recently. It filled up to over almost $1 million. We would have raised a lot more, but unfortunately, we hit that LP limit of 99 individuals. So we had to close it. But you just feel really good because you see right away if it's a good deal flow, if you wrote the deal memo correctly, if people are excited about it. And so that's why I love running from the syndicate perspective, but it is hard too from a fund perspective because you don't know how it's going to end up. You don't know how your fund's going to do for 5, 7, 10 years. The best part about at least crypto, though, is we're investing in equity and tokens. So sometimes those tokens, especially these last 2 weeks where it's been a little bit more of a bear market, you're seeing tokens really just take off just a little bit more. But for us, hopefully, and a lot of these tokens have a 3 to 4 year vesting period. So we'll start to be able to decide if slash when we want to sell any of these tokens and if we could create liquidity for our investors. That was a lot all at once. So now I just want to touch a little bit about me, what I'm doing, if I could help anybody along the way. So as I mentioned, my name's Elana. I'm a partner at Redbeard Ventures. I had a crazy background consulting startups, started sourcing the deals, got into venture. And then on the side, I also do the girls table. So I host those different events. And really, I am such like a chief networker. And that's also half of venture capital. So if you're watching this right now and you're in venture capital, I would say like find 4 to 5 people you truly believe who are in your space and sector, like who you truly believe in, who you would invest in if you wanted to. And so I've been really focusing on that where I'm like, okay, I'm in Web3 crypto, we're in pre-seed seed. There's a ton of venture capital funds that fit that thesis. But then I look at different portfolios and I'm like, okay, who have these portfolios that I actually would invest in a lot of those companies? And who are these individuals that I find are smarter than myself and who I want to learn from and find deal flow? And then start sending your top deal flow. Because if you start sending your top deal flow to these different individuals, then they'll send it back. And I would say like 4 to 5 people, like there are going to be a ton more funds, a ton more angel investors who fit your thesis. But if you have 4 to 5 people that you share really quality deal flow with, that you believe in the thesis and that you trust, then they're going to send this amazing deal flow back. And then it will be a lot of back and forth. And I'd say my first year in venture, I had such a broad range of people, and as you should, but there was nobody that was fully like, those are the people that I want to invest in. Here's the deal flow that I want to send. And now that I'm already like over 2 years into my venture journey, it's like, okay, I have those people that I trust to send my deal flow to and who send me quality deal flow back. And really, I would say like, give first and then ask. Don't be like, oh, well, what's your deals? Be like, no, here are my top deals that I source. I know are closing around of funding. And if you're interested, I'm happy to make that introduction. So that's step one, grow your network. Go to different events. I would say I do an amazing job at going to different events around LA, growing my network. And now I host my own events for founders and investors. And I'm really known throughout the community. So when people do see those crypto Web3 companies that they're excited about, I'm one of the first people that they go to. The next thing is to grow your CRM. I actually been doing this very recently and I wish I did it earlier. And that's why I'm mentioning it. I want to show you guys, but I don't want to show other people's names, but I do think it's really important to show how this works. So let me make a copy of it so that you guys could see it. Um, let's see, duplicate it. Okay, I got it. It was easy. Maybe. Oh yeah, it's refreshing. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna share my screen. And guys, if you're watching this, feel free to ask questions. I'm really just doing this. I'm here to help. I wanted to go live because I want to make a podcast and I thought it'd be fun to be live, answer any questions while I'm on the journey. So this is my CRM. All right. So there are two things that I do. The first thing is the second that I'm on a call with somebody, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm filling out this information. So my name's Elana Dickman. I have my email. Let's just do test@gmail.com. The next thing I do is the job position. So what are they? Who is it that I'm talking to? Are they a venture capitalist, a founder, a corporate employee, a startup employee, law, PR, sponsor? And then I have any LP in our fund or a syndicate LP. And then there's a couple others, but I'd say those are the main ones I use. So, okay, venture capital, company name, RBV, job title, partner, location. This is super important for me because I'm hosting different events around LA. So I really need to make sure that I know where people for the majority of time are based because I'm like, hey, I'm hosting a pickleball in 2 weeks. It's in LA. I want to invite founders who have currently raised a round of funding. So I go right to my CRM. So LA. Then I grab their LinkedIn link, which I'm just too lazy to do right now, their company URL, any notes, like how did you meet them? How did you get connected? Who made the introduction? The investment stage or sector or their company stage or sector. So I'm like pre-seed, seed, and then space, robotics, whatever. I'm Web3 crypto, but I'm just doing this as an example. So I fill this in. I have all this information. The best thing that Airtable does is it lets you actually do a plugin. So it just stopped sharing. So let me reshare my screen. Let me know when you could see it. Okay. I'm on mine right now. So what I do is I press open an Airtable, this little button. Oh, it just stopped sharing. Let me see. Share screen. Okay. And then what it does is basically it goes, I've already done this before. I'm going to have to stop so you can't see everybody on my list. But basically, it brings up all the information. It grabs their title, their company, their LinkedIn URL, their company URL, and then it's automatically there. And so that's kind of my first step of bringing somebody in if I'm on a phone call, and then I'll add in the rest of the information. But this is important, one, not just because if you host events, hey, it's important to have this, but it's also just important to actually know who your network is, to share different deal flow with, to get connected and really just chat with individuals. So if you aren't starting your CRM, I'd say go ahead and do it. But majority and my main really just feedback for everybody who is listening right now is if you're interested in venture capital, if you're just trying to learn more, write about your thesis in this space, find your niche, and then look at different VCs that have scout programs and start sourcing some of the best deal flow. And I promise you, like if I had somebody that was sourcing deal flow for me that brought in the best deal flow, that was writing good deal memos for me to be like, hey, here's why I'm excited about it. Here's what the company's raising, answering all the questions, quick to respond. Like most VCs would be like, fuck yeah, let's bring that person in. And I think that that's just a way to do it. The last thing is I would just say if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I see that a couple of you joined today and truly means a lot. I'm here as a resource. I want to start going live a little bit more. Maybe I'll take Tuesdays as my day to be here to answer any questions, hop on a call, and really just see what I'm learning about and diving into in the space. So thanks so much for joining, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, ask any questions. I'll be here next week. Appreciate your time.